Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce the codpiece. This is MikeBust of Arcadience, and I'm coming in with the last of the first time monster encounters that Raylor and I will be doing. Raylor is a new character that I started up for single player, and we have successfully made our way to Arcadience. For Arcadience, I have prepared a Bowgun setup of Poison Stinger frame, Thundercris barrel, and Needler stock. And I've got a mixed set of armor parts that gives me, here we go, the active skills of recoil down +2 and elemental attack up. And the thought and theory behind this set is that I'll have elemental attack up for rapid fire thunder shots and the dragon shots, and I have a really good balance of Pierce 2, cluster shots, and that's about it, in order to take down Arcadience. And the big idea is to basically throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at Arcadience, and come up with something that approximates large damage in single player, which is somewhat difficult sometimes with the bowgun. So the prospect of doing a live commentary on Arcadience is a little daunting, because Arcadience takes a really long time. Even if you're able to kill him with single player equipment, it still takes 20 to 30 minutes. So in preparation for that, I am going to be talking a little bit about my experience playing Monster Hunter and how I started playing this game semi-religiously, and sort of the experience I had coming up starting in Monster Hunter Tri. I should mention that this quest is myself, Raylor, and a 6-pack. And I'm doing that because it's Arcadience. This is going to be really long and slightly tiring. And this will loosen up my tongue a little bit, hopefully, so we can, talk about something vaguely interesting. Quick note about my items, I suppose, before I set out. I've had a problem with hit points in single player. Egg Noctor got me down to no healing potions, so I brought Mega Nutrients and Dragon Toadstool so I can make max potions. And I've got a whole lot of combination materials as well for a variety of different things. Like I said, I'm going to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at Arcadience. I think that's the way to go. And I'm guessing the grill mask, because, I honestly didn't check on Cha-Cha. Let's check on Cha-Cha. Let's see. He's got the grill. Water attack's not going to help. Change this to dragon, I suppose, and we'll just call it a day. Yeah. Sounds good. Starting up Monster Hunter. Okay, so this story starts in the summer of 2010. In the summer of 2010, I was really getting into my music, and I realized that I was essentially reaching a point in my life that I wasn't as interested in playing video games anymore as I used to be. And I really kind of sensed the end of my career as a gamer coming to a close. And so I decided that to end up my career as a gamer, if you will. I'm using career in the loosest possible sense. But in order to end up my experience as a gamer, I decided I would play a few games on my Nintendo Wii that I thought were entertaining or looked really interesting. So I did the No More Heroes games, I did Muramasa, I did Metroid Other M, I did a number of other games that looked really interesting to me and like they would be a lot of fun. And I essentially reached a point where I had run out of games to check out. Yeah, whatever, dude, Chief Son. Thanks, Junior. I had essentially run out of games that I could check out, given my own resources. Like, I just didn't see anything else that really appealed to me, given what I already was interested in as far as games. So I turned to a place that I've turned to a number of times in the past when I was a PlayStation owner in order to find out about new games that I had yet to hear about. And that was the reviews of Famitsu Weekly. And Famitsu is a Japanese gaming magazine that, hey, nice. Okay, where is he? There we go. Oh, that hurt. Famitsu is a Japanese gaming magazine that's been around since the 80s, I think. And basically Famitsu has a really interesting method of reviewing games, whereby, shoot, man, whereby they essentially get 4 people that are somehow, in my understanding is that they're somehow involved in the industry, and they review the games for the magazine. And the 4 people each give the game a score of between 1 and 10, and so the final score for the game is a determination of those 4 scores. So it's not just one person reviewing a game, and I've always been really interested in... God, I am doing really bad at this. Like I said before, I'm not prepping before these quests. I'm trying to keep it fresh. So anyway, Famitsu Weekly, a place where I've turned to in the past to find out about new games, especially when I was a PlayStation owner. So I turned to Famitsu Weekly for a new game to play for the Wii. And I went through a number of their highest scores, and I discovered that there was actually an action RPG, and I've always been a really big RPG fan. But there was an action RPG for the Wii that received a perfect score, and I had literally never played it before. And that was Monster Hunter Tri. And so I went online and I checked out some reviews. I checked out Charles Onyette's review for IGN. Back in the day, I used to be a huge IGN fan. Now I'm just sort of a casual observer, I suppose. Oh, man. Anyway. Some weird camera stuff going on right here. That is bizarre. In any case, I checked out Charles Onyette's review, and I thought it looked really impressive, and it received a perfect score from Famitsu. What the heck is going on there? Is that my controller? Just being like a total nerd? I don't know what that is. Let's try to do this a little better then. So, I knew that Famitsu had given Monster Hunter Tri a very high score, and I was very interested in learning more about it. He's gonna hit me here, isn't he? Oh, that was painful. Glad I brought all those extra healing supplies, jeez. Dragon Blight, good times. So I picked up Monster Hunter Tri, sort of on a whim, sort of because Famitsu had said so, and I'd always had really good experiences with Famitsu reviews in the past. Oh, another flinch, huh? But I'm out. Let's go for the +3s. Why not? I picked up Monster Hunter Tri. I put it in my game system, booted it up. You know, one of the first quests was Junior making me cut up eggnog. I'm sorry. What are they called? The herbivores. Aptonauts. Junior has you go kill some Aptonauts for him so we can have some meat. And, you know, I'm a family man. I was sort of disenfranchised by the idea of cooking up Aptonaut meat and murdering herbivorous families. Like, it didn't appeal to me at all. And so I basically rage quit Monster Hunter Tri within a couple minutes of really turning it on. After that, I gave it a couple days and decided I would come back to it and see if I could make anything of the game at that point. And I came back to it and got through all the farming quests, and the whole time I was like, dude, am I playing Sim City? Like, what's going on here? Like, I'm getting all these resources, but what's the point behind this? Eventually I got through enough big monsters that I got to Kurapeko, and right before they give you Kurapeko to fight, they give you access to the Switch Axe. So I was like, oh, I've played role-playing games before. I understand how role-playing games work. If they give you a new weapon class, it's because it's best. I mean, it's because it works really well, and it's gonna basically attract you to a whole new reason for continuing to play the game, so that you have a continued interest in what's going on. Is he mad at me? He must be mad at me. Let's see if I can get around that. Nope. Let's use one of those max potions, because I got like 7. So I got to Kurapeko, pulled out my Switch Axe, and at the time I had never seen a damage formula for the game. My general philosophy on playing video games is that I don't like to see strategy guides until I've either beaten the game already and I'm trying to find like new ways to have fun, or I just get completely stuck on some puzzle that makes no sense to me. And in that case, I will check out strategy guides. But in this case, you know, I got into Kurapeko. I started hitting him with my Switch Axe. It got down to the attack where, you know, you're just kind of flailing with your Switch Axe. That's a terrible place to be shooting him with clutch shots, by the way. I got to the point where you're hitting him with your switch axe in like the chopping motion, and it's draining your stamina. And at the time I was like, oh, that's going to be the boss damage move. I should be trying to do that all the time because it's draining your stamina. It must be so powerful, right? So, basically, after about 35 or 40 minutes, I had sweaty palms. I was down to my very last healing supplies, which of course I had been farming up by walking around in the Moga village as much as possible. In the Moga forest, rather. I had these sweaty palms. I was like panting from exertion. It's just really, really bad times. My wife looks over at me, and she's never seen me be this engrossed in a boss fight. And she's like, did you already beat this game? I mean, generally, my wife loves to play video games, but a lot of the times, I'm sort of the go-to person. Oh, there goes his beard. That's kind of nice. I'm generally the go-to person for like boss fights if she gets stuck. I come in and do all of my button mashing and try to fix things as best I can. So like she was unaccustomed to seeing me that aggravated over a boss fight. She thought I was already at like the end boss or something. Very confused, obviously. So, I explained to her that no, it was one of the early bosses in the game, and I had really just started, and I was already at this point of really wanting to rage quit, because it seemed like things were just too complicated, and it would be just too much trouble to learn how to actually play this game. I'm going to forecast her here, because I have a theory that you can actually cut them off. We'll see if my theory is correct. So, a couple of days passed. Where is that thing? Oh, they're blocking it. Those jerks. Ugh. They're gonna make me run all the way back. Jerks. Where is the point where you jump off? Where is it? Come on. No shortcuts for me. Lame wads. Where was I? So, frustrating time with Kurapeko. Rage quit the game for the second time. First time being because I had objections to killing families of herbivores for no particular reason. And, of course, the second time because Kurapeko gave me an extremely hard time. So, I woke up the next morning, and I was like, this game received amazing reviews. There must be something wrong with me. I don't think there's something wrong with this game. I don't think that it would have received so much critical acclaim and attention if there was nothing to that. So, I'm going to give it another shot. But before I give it another shot, I'm going to, just on a whim, go check and see if there's anything on GameFAQs. Like, maybe someone somewhere has decided that they're going to figure out how to play this game and put something on GameFAQs. And maybe I'll find some, threadbare strategy guide that can, explain to me at least how to start doing things. So, of course, I went to GameFAQs, which was, up to that point, always my favorite place to find up-to-date information about video games where I was confused or needed some walkthrough advice, and found a plethora of information. It was like, oh my gosh, people have really researched Monster Hunter. So, I approached it, I saw all this information, and I decided, I should approach this with some specific questions. Because if I go in with just a bunch of generalized questions, I'm never going to find the information I really want to know. And one of the things that really is confusing me at this point is that after I fight the monsters for a while, they all go to sleep. But I don't know what to do when they're asleep. I just walk up, and I keep expecting to get, a one-hit kill. Like the game is just telling me, oh yeah, walk up and slash them, but then I do, and they just wake back up and start fighting me again. I'm clearly missing something here. So I'm gonna start with sleep. And I remember there was a Q&A guide that's really high up in the list of guides at GameFAQs. And there was this Q&A guide where I basically just went to find and look up sleep. And I found a little note, a little reference about sleep bombing. And I was like, bombing? I'm supposed to have bombs when they go to sleep? How could I have possibly known that? I was so confused at the time as to how I was supposed to be aware of the fact that I should be pulling out bombs. If I had missed a text dialogue with the village people, but no, it was just something that somebody had published in a guide. And, at the time, extremely confused as I was, I decided that being that I'm a really visual person, I really wanted to see what they were talking about. So I jumped on YouTube. What the heck happened there? Oh, whatever. I jumped on YouTube, of course, and was like, I need to see a visual reference of what they're saying. Yeah, thank you very much. I really need to see a visual reference of what they're saying, and jumped on YouTube and found that there was even... Not only was there a plethora of information on Monster Hunter on GameFAQs, but there was a plethora of people that were posting videos about it. And to me... Oh, I thought I had a shield barrel. That was really stupid of me. To me, like, this was astounding that not only had... was this game popular and it was well reviewed, but people had really put in the time to figure out what was going on. And that to me was incredibly impressive. That a game that, even though I'm an experienced gamer and I've been playing games since 1984, 85, nevertheless, Monster Hunter really threw me for a loop, and I really didn't understand what was going on at first, and was just so enthralled that other people had really taken the time to create videos and create guides. So, long story short, as a person who is now making Monster Hunter videos, it's actually a point of pride for me to be doing so. Mostly because a lot of my experience playing Monster Hunter was about watching other people, and was about sort of like... Oh shoot, I shouldn't have done that. It was about that sort of process of like sharing. And I think a lot of what Monster Hunter engenders to its play audience kind of embodies that. This idea that like we're all working together, so to speak. I'm gonna try and jump up to that Dragonator, because why not? And I think that's something that's really beautiful about Monster Hunter, that I really support, and I'm really proud to be a member of this gaming community, and of the people that do this, you know? That's gonna be a really bad position. I shouldn't do that. Because he's not low enough. He has to swim up to it, that's the thing. I've got a lot of different shots that I can use in this context. I got the Rapid Fire Thunders. I'm starting with the Wyvern Fire because I generally feel most comfortable with Wyvern Fire, so here I am. But, yeah, that's just kind of what I'm doing at the moment. I suppose I should be taking full boosts while I do this. Stay out of the way of that, if at all possible. Arcadience is really beautiful. I'm actually very sad that I don't have access to the game sound while I'm playing, because I love the Arcadience music. I think it's extremely well done, and it's a really cool choral effort at sort of like giving a real presence to the underwater god, if you will. That was a flinch. I'm really happy I brought those cluster shots. I'm generally not a big cluster shot person, but underwater they work really well because they just kind of float down, and so a lot of the monsters just sort of either swim into the bomblets or just make it very easy for you to get them in. That's always a happy time. Ooh, this might be tough. Oh, unlike Legiacris, he doesn't do it twice. That's a good time. Oh, that hurt. It's no good. Okay, so he's gonna do this move again. Let's blow up his horns if at all possible. So later on in my experience playing Monster Hunter, you know, when I was first going through single player, I spent a really long time in single player. I spent about 200 hours in single player my first time through. He's swimming down. I'm going to see if I can get him up to this Dragonator, because it's just kind of a shame if I don't use that thing. I mean, it's there for me, right? Might as well use it. Jeez. Where are you? He's coming up to me. Yes. And get in a position. Good. Swim up to me, swim up to me. Please take a dagger in the face. Yes. Well, there goes the horn. That's good times. What else do I want to do to this guy? I'm kind of feeling like Pierce 2 is in order soon. I want to get through all these clutch shots if at all possible. That was a terrible way to shoot that. Okay, let's see what else I got to throw at him. Any more kitchen sink? The Bowgunner's challenge with C-Deus, I feel, is about managing your supplies and knowing how you can deal large amounts of damage over time. Oh, that's nice. That's a pretty decent shot right there. Because with other weapon classes, I mean, just bring enough whetstones. You know, you don't really think about your maximal damage level with other weapons. Like, okay, can I actually pull enough points of damage to kill the monster? But that actually becomes a real concern with bowguns. And since C-Deus has 15,000 hit points, especially in single player, like, you really got to hack away at this guy. I mean, obviously, here I am, like 15 minutes in. Multiple dragon shots and wyvern fires later against a dragon weak monster, and he's like, yeah, I'm chill. Oh, here comes a scream. Woo! I gotta reboost everything, don't I? I originally didn't take the Mega Demon Drug right away because I knew I was doing dragon shots, so I didn't think that was as much of an issue. But I might as well take it now. Dragon shots, of course, do set damage. It's elemental damage. It is affected by elemental attack up, and but interestingly, it doesn't actually stack off of your raw attack. It has a raw damage pattern. If you didn't happen to already know that, now you do. Woohoo! C-Deus always reminded me of a salamander. He's very salamander-esque to me. You know, I tend to think all the monsters in Monster Hunter have some sort of like real-life basis. I think they've actually done a really good job of that, of making things fantastic but realistic. I love getting stunned. It's my favorite. His weak point to shot damage is actually his stomach. I have to be totally honest about this. I don't even know what his stomach is, like, as opposed to like just the rest of his body. I'm not totally clear on that at all. Oh, he's gonna hit me. Yeah, he always hits me with that. But that's why I brought tons of max potions, because I knew he would. Oh, jeez. Was that a horn check? I'm pretty sure that was a horn check. Pretty sure I'm correct about that. Anyway, I broke off my train of thought a moment ago, which is when, you know, I started off with a tough time in Monster Hunter, and spent 200 hours in single player. And my basic methodology for playing Monster Hunter at that point was actually to turn on Wii Fit for about 30 minutes and get my heart rate up and get my cardiovasculars working for me, and then to play Monster Hunter. And that was like my best strategy against farming Legiacris in single player and stuff, was like, yeah, I need to exercise before I play Monster Hunter so I can keep my palms from getting too sweaty and keep my heart rate down while I'm fighting these crazy monsters, because they were like having a serious physiological effect on me, and it was basically making the game impossible for me to play. So once I overcame that sort of physiological issue that I was personally having, you know, I became massively entertained. And I think that a lot of what has informed my experience playing Monster Hunter really kind of comes down, please reload, really kind of comes down to that amazing challenge I had when I first started playing, where like, not only did nothing make sense, but even when things started to make sense, it was still hard as nails. And it still is hard as nails for me. Like, I've spent an enormous amount of time in this game, and it's still extremely difficult for me to get around things, and it really tests my play skill level on a regular basis, even though I've played it a ton. You'd think that like a lot of those issues would go away, but nope. There I am, I'm trying to shoot while I have no bullets. It's pretty smart. It's a smart way to go. But I've always been interested in, like, you know, a lot of the people that I talk to about this game are also really into it, and have been really into it for a while, and it's always really interested me. If anyone is hearing this and is in the comments and has a really interesting beginning Monster Hunter story, I'd love to hear it. And I think it'd be really cool if we all shared those together, and CDS kind of lends himself to that. You know, a lot of us got to CDS and we're like, this is it. Like, he's just there to hit as many times as you can. Like, I just have to prove that I can actually do that much damage in a given amount of time. Is that what's going on here, Monster Hunter? And so, you know, it causes you to spend less time being aggravated by the boss and spend more time thinking about your experience playing this game and being like, okay, so this is like the quote-unquote end of single player, at least. You know, like, what have I learned playing this game? What have I been doing this entire time? Because it may not seem obvious to you at that point, you know? And it didn't seem obvious to me when I got to CDS that, like, that was the culmination of everything I had been trying to accomplish up to that point, you know? Because I still kind of played Monster Hunter like it was any other game, where, like, you're just trying to beat the end boss. And even while I was going through single player, I still didn't see it the way that I see it now, which is like, it's a real exhibition of raw technique. In fact, there was a palpable moment, there was a real moment where Monster Hunter suddenly made sense to me. And I was low on Mega Dash juices, and I was farming up Royal Ludroths and using Lance. And I realized that the timing on the counters for the Lance was extremely similar to the timings for Guile from Street Fighter 2 to do his flash kick. Some of you might not know what I'm talking about, and I apologize if you don't. I didn't bring thunder shots? That is really, really stupid of me. Oh, at least I got a few here. Jeez, man. But yeah, I had this palpable moment where Monster Hunter suddenly made sense to me, and it was because I used to spend a lot of time in the arcades playing Street Fighter 2, and the way that you counter to me feels a lot like using Guile's flash kick, and it kind of feels like that process of like timing your attack, like timing your defense against your opponent, such that you're up in the air or in a better position to basically be blocking through them and then launch into the flash kick. Like, the Lance's counter to me feels that way. What, I just fleed him? At 2643? Does that make sense? Did I do that wrong? I feel like I did something wrong. I thought you could kill him the first time through. Maybe not. Maybe they force you to flee him, and that's, like, as good as it gets. But yeah, so I had this palpable moment where I realized that the counter on the Lance was extremely similar to Guile's flash kick, and at that moment, Monster Hunter clicked for me. Everything suddenly made sense. I suddenly realized that this whole time, I didn't know it before, but I was actually playing an arcade-style fighting game. And that everything in Monster Hunter really kind of lends itself to that sort of arcadey, actiony sort of feel when you're in-game. As soon as you get back to Village, it's all really intense math, and it's very much a role-playing game. But that moment of realizing that the flash kick and on Guile and the counter on the Lance were so similar really kind of opened the door for me. It made me realize that I could play this game, and not only that, but I would have a fun time playing this game. This is MikeBust from Arcadience. This is the last first-time Monster Hunt with Raylor and Cha-Cha. And this is Cha-Cha and I just basically saying goodbye to our first-time Monster Hunts. We fully plan on doing the double monster quests for single player that'll take place sometime in the future. For the time being, peace out, Planet Monster Hunter.